What's going on, guys? This is Musin. So if you know me, you would know that I'm a huge Cyber Dragon fan. It is by far my favorite deck in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I just love it, honestly. I just love contact fusing. I love doing some nasty things. I love killing people with Rampage. It's really fun, and I also love summoning Cyber Dragon Infinity, but maybe this build is not really cut out for it. But at the end of the day, I can't really complain because, you know, when you get to kill people with Rampage, and when you get to actually not brick for once, and play the game really well and break boards also while doing that, and also being able to play when people force you to go first, no, it's not too bad, right? But yeah, I really think that this is the best version of Cyber Dragon, at least to play at the current moment, because it's very versatile. And again, if you're going deep in a tournament and people know that you're playing Cyber Dragon, at least you can still catch them off guard with the Sky Striker cards, and if they make you go first, you can still end on a couple of Widow Anchors and an actual follow-up for next turn. You're not just like relying on a window of OT King, and if it doesn't go through because you're getting hand trapped on your Rampage, you lose the game. No. So this time, we always have a way to play. So yeah, I will be going over the explanation behind every single one of these cards and ratios, but before this deck profile starts, friendly reminder to smash the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate you, and now let's get right into it. Alright, so I'm playing 7 Cyber Dragon monsters. They're not really, you know, super great to draw outside of core, of course, but Cyber Dragon, you don't really want to draw it when you're going first. Obviously, it's still a going second deck, but when people force you to go first, which will happen in Top Cut, this card is really bad to draw. And going second, you don't want multiples, as I said. 3 Cyber Dragon Core, this card is insane. Of course, you want to play 3. Same thing with Emergency. Emergency searches core. Repair Plant is not a starter on its own. You need a Cyber Dragon already in the graveyard. Not ideal. You can definitely brick on Repair Plant, unfortunately. Nexture is a card that you only want one of because you don't really want to draw it ever. You want it in the deck so that you can summon it off of a course, a graveyard effect, or you can search it with Emergency, and you're typically reviving back Rampage, so that's pretty cool. And then 2 Hertz, which is not as good as Core, obviously, but it's not as bad to draw as Cyber Dragon or Nexture. It at least kind of gets you a +1, even though it's not a really real +1, because you're searching a card that doesn't really do you any good outside of being used as a contact fuse material. But it's still a very good discard fodder for, like, let's say, Clockwork Knight or something. And of course, it's a card that is needed for the engine of Cyber Dragon to function. And it's really good in tandem with Rampage. You go Foolish, the Hertz, and the Core, and then you sort of recycle back the Core, and you always have a way to play. A very good grind game that this deck has, actually. Even though it's Cyber Dragon and it's known to OTK, I like to not really bank on OTK on turn 2. I OTK on turn 4, actually. I break the board first, and then I interact with my opponent on turn 3. And then on turn 4, this is where the real, like, destruction happens. So yeah, this deck wins slowly but surely. Anyways, 2 Theron monsters, because I'm playing 2 Theron field spells, as well as 3 Clockwork Knight. So 5 ways of searching the Regulus. And this card's pretty good in this deck, because when you're getting back the Hertz in the Spell and Trap Zone, it's actually going to be recycling back a resource. So either Core Hertz, Core Nexture, or actually even Hertz technically, or Cyber Dragon from graveyard to hand, or Cyber Dragon like straight up from deck to hand. Which is the best bad move that you can do, obviously, because getting back a core is always better. But another thing that you can do with Regulus that is really cool is get back the Cyber Dragon in the Spell and Trap Zone, and then still fuse it for Chimera Tech Fortress, because unlike Mega Fleet, it doesn't necessarily need a Cyber Dragon monster. It's just a Cyber Dragon on either board, not necessarily on, like, the actual monster, like, monster zones. That's really interesting. You can look into the ruling, but this is how it works. You can use the real Cyber Dragon in the Spell and Trap Zone, but not the others, because they're only treated as Cyber Dragon while they are on the field, and of course, they are no longer monsters while they are on the Spell and Trap Zone. And also, when you have, like, 2 Theron Regulus in rotation, it becomes way better, because the Regulus can get back a Regulus, and then you recycle back the Regulus when, like, it dies because of the field spell, and you have, like, infinite negation every single turn. It's kind of cool. Being able to still have negates in this deck definitely feels good, so I don't really feel like I miss Infinity that much. It's really not the end of the world. And again, if I have to play, like, Galaxy Soldier and stuff like that, or Cyber Dragon Dry to make Infinity, it's going to denaturalize my deck a little bit, and I'm not going to be able to play the Sky Striker cards. And speaking of which, these cards are remarkable. Alright, so I'm playing a small Sky Striker engine, no Ray, obviously, because the 2 ways I'm summoning my Link monsters are via Hornet Drones as well as Linkage, and of course I'm playing the maximum amount of engages that I can play. 3 engage would be kind of nice. Please, Konami, I know you can do it. 3 engage and 3 Kigari. Oh my god. any day of the week. But yeah, I'm playing one Jamming Waves. Jamming Waves is the best Sky Striker card in this deck. Well, I mean, obviously after Engage, no shit. Because this card synergizes with Cyber Dragon. You can go Jamming Waves, destroy Overflow, and get your stuff going. So you can literally brick and unbrick very quickly. And of course, Core gets you the ball rolling, and you're eventually going to be able to play the game one day or another, especially when your Shizuku gets you like an Engage, so that you always recover back your resources. And you're going to be fueling your graveyard with spell cards very quickly. Like every single turn, use Emergency and like another Sky Striker card, potentially a Pot of Prosperity, and then after that, the next turn, you're going to be going Engage, Draw, Engage, Draw, Engage, Draw. It's going to be absolutely nasty. But yeah, obviously, I'm playing 3 Emergency. This doesn't need any explanation. 3 Prosperity, which can potentially be cut down to 2, but you can't really afford to banish 6 cards with Prosperity. That's the issue. You're only banishing 3 cards, and more often than not, it's going to be cards that you don't really need, like maybe the Lina, the Camellia, as well as the Relinquished Anima, but the rest you kind of need, so that's the reason why 2 Prosperity is also a very respectable decision. And then, of course, the Afterburner, so that you can clear, like, Floodgates, like Skill Drain and stuff like that, because Jamming Waves can only destroy the Skill Drain if it wasn't preemptively flipped up. Otherwise, yeah, it's kind of rough, honestly. But yeah, very good card in this deck. You also have an Unending Nightmare for Floodgates, one of my favorite cards in this game, by the way. And we also have 3 Widow Anchors. I feel like this was so, like, obvious that I don't really have to explain, because if you're playing Sky Striker as an engine, you're always gonna have 3 Widow Anchors. This is the way you deal with annoying Floodgate monsters like, I don't know, Vanity's Fiend, Kashtira, Riseheart, and stuff like that. It's not, this deck doesn't really want to face, like, you know, a Macrocosmos walking monster. And if you Widow Anchor the Riseheart, then you can finally Contact Fuse over, which is really cool, especially considering the fact that people are also summoning Shangri-La in the extra monster zone, so that you can double Contact Fuse. You Contact Fuse for Machine using the Riseheart, and then for Mega Fleet using the, Shangri-La. So that way you can have like 2 big monsters, and you can pretty much clear the whole board, even if your hand isn't even that good, as long as you have like a Widow Anchor, of course. And then on your opponent's follow-up play, you're just going to be using your trap cards and your quick play spells, and this is how you're typically going to be surviving so that you can kill for next turn. That is, again, the theme of the deck. So, yeah, I think every single card here has been explained. I mean, Cyberload Fusion is also a given. This is how you summon Rampage. This is, like, the bread and butter, like, objective of the deck is to summon Rampage so that you can win. 3 Clockwork Knight so that you can Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, like, the whole board. This card is like a cheat card. If you draw it, there's pretty much no way you lose. And it's also kind of like a Floodgate, by the way, because while it's on the field, every monster becomes a machine, and some decks actually just lose to that. It's pretty much like a zombie world. If you have this in tandem with Rivalry of Warlords, insanely overpowered. So maybe in your side deck, you can actually do a conversion, side out some of the Sky Striker cards, and just side in some Rivalry, some other trap cards, and this is going to be absolutely lethal. Like a really nasty combination, on top of, again, being able to Contact Fuse into Fortress every single turn using every single monster your opponent controls. Completely ridiculous. Anyways, again, of course, 2 field spells so that you can search for the Regulus, but also recycle back, protect your monsters. This card does a lot, honestly. It's really, really, really good. It's not just, you know, it's not just like a Trickstar Light Stage that searches on activation. I mean, Light Stage also has another really good effect, but whatever, you get the point, okay? And for the trap cards, I'm playing Imperm, which is the only hand trap that is also really good to draw as your 6 cards, so why not? Can't really play Ash, not really the best card economy there. You can't really afford to, like, go 1 for 1, like, generically. Like, that is kind of weak, and if you draw multiples, it's also not too bad. Imperm is a little more applicable, like I said. This is, I mean, you could also, I guess you could still maybe fit in Ash, but then you would have to, like, cut the Strike, and I think Strike is really good in this deck because it also protects you from hand traps in case they're trying to Ash, like, your starter, and you only have, like, that to play with, so the Strike has always been good for me in Cyber Dragon. And then, obviously, 3 Overflow, 1 Unending Nightmare. This card is always good at destroying, like, your own Overflow so that you can always search something with the Overflow, so it always gets, like, full value. So you're destroying cards your opponent controls, and you're searching a follow-up, which is typically the Cyberload Fusion. So you banish 2, search a Cyberload, and then kill your opponent. If you want some combos, I got you. Just smash the like button. You already know it. Let's try to get to 1,000 likes. And I'll be uploading like a compilation of the best combos for this deck. But yeah, I think we're done with the explanation of the deck list. The only final thing for me to explain is the linkage. That is just like a second copy of Hornet Drones, honestly. You can use this and like chain it whenever you use like a spell card like Emergency Or when you go like normal core, you search something, you make El Mirage, and then send the El Mirage. So again, these monsters, they really do not conflict with your Sky Striker cards because they don't really clog the main monster zone, as crazy as this may sound. They're all, you know, transformable into a Link 1 monster, whatever. Alright, cool. For the extra deck, 2 Mega Fleet, 2 Fortress. The ratios are kind of like up in the air because it depends on what people are playing in the format, but 3 Fortress is relevant when you're playing like a deck that really turbos out Clockwork Knight like crazy. Otherwise, like 2-2 is probably the safest thing you can do, because Mega Fleet is still really good against, you know, either people who don't respect Cyber Dragon and always summon their stuff in the extra monster zone, or Link heavy strategies. Now, 1 Rampage, of course, we're not playing Overload Fusion because Anaconda is banned, so there's no reason to play 2 Rampage. And there's also no Cyber Dragon Nova, so it's not like you can say, oh, you need another target when it dies. It's irrelevant. 1 Cyber Dragon Seeger, again, needed for the OTK. The Lina, which is a nice way of unbreaking and getting to a core when your hand is utter garbage. So this card is actually not too bad. 1 Sky Striker is Camellia. You can get access to your Sky Striker card using just this card, but this card currently does not exist in the TCG, so the best substitute is a second copy of Azalea, honestly. Or, I don't know, maybe like a 3rd Kagari, but I don't really recommend it because you're gonna run out of ways to like even summon the Kagari. So yeah, it can honestly be anything at this point. 1 Hayate, double Kagari, 1 Shizuku. Again, you're playing like 2 ways of getting to them, so that's the reason why these ratios are really small. It's not like we're playing 3 Ray, 2 Rose, 3 Link Cage, etc. And there's obviously like really big extra deck constraints, so that's also something to take into consideration. Anyway, Shizuku, Salamander, El Mirage, as well as Relinquished Anima. This could be Link Kuribo, but at least Relinquished Anima has like an actual effect, so I think it's a little better more often than not. Can't use Hornet Drones for it, but it doesn't matter because Hertz is what you're really trying to use. So yeah, 40, 15, and I don't obviously have a side deck, but I do have an idea section, so Nibiru, whatever. I mean, I don't even know why this is here. Lord of the Heavenly Prison, not too bad, but not too great. You can get access to like Engage and Emergency. Well, I mean, Engage would make no sense because then you have like a monster on your main monster zone, so kind of does nothing. 3rd Regulus for absolutely no given reason. Lancia if you want to play around evenly, which is really stupid because you're trying to go 2nd. Cyber Dragon Dry, again, doesn't really make sense with the Sky Striker cards. More Mega Fleet and Fortress, Cyber Dragon Infinity and Nova, if you can fit in Puzzlemino. But then you would have to play Cyber Dragon Fear. Again, I can explain all that in the combo video, but just make sure that you smash the like button. Lightning Storm, Duster for trap decks because this deck usually suffers with trap decks, but the Sky Striker version is probably the best way to navigate through that. Maybe not because of Widow Anchor, but whatever. Call by the Grave, Evenly. Ah, there we go, speaking of the devil. Crackdown with Goes and Match, Rivalry, etc. All those cards, honestly, can be played in Cyber Dragon, and you can probably get away with, you know, main decking Floodgates, actually, in a Cyber Dragon heavy deck. But yeah, that's all I had for this deck profile. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget